Back again for another Binge-Watchers podcast. Johnny Spoiler here, who spoils the movies he loves. Jordan Savage, who can review a movie without having seen it. That's how savage she is. And Dangerous Dave, who will drop the dangerous trivia about tonight's movie on you in a little while. We're wrapping up our bad romance movie month with a Hal Ashby entry. Hal Ashby entry. The Last Detail. One of my favorite Nicholson movies. We'll talk about the celebrity cameos in this thing, but first, we're gonna go right off on a tangent that I planned for about as seen on TV products. Specifically, whether or not my co-hosts have a love affair with anything that they've seen on TV and then seem to vanish from the face of the earth, like this freaking panini press. I had this thing years ago. Its official name is the Red Copper Flip Witch Duo. It's a stovetop panini maker. The thing's amazing. You can just basically make a panini, like a world-class restaurant panini quality Italian sandwich in your apartment kitchen. It's made out of copper. Its only defect was the handle, because the handle snapped off pretty easily. But other than that, it's pretty sturdy. I made some great paninis, and then I couldn't replace it. And I'm like, what the hell happened? So now I'm just like, to make this into a podcast episode, I was like, let me do some research here like David would do. See how dangerous Johnny could be. There was a Thrillist article written called The Rise and Fall of the Panini that came out in October of 2021. So I guess I thought the love for panini still existed. But then I saw a Food and Wine article, The Best Griddle and Sandwich Makers of 2023. But it's kind of overkill because instead of this artistic, romantic-looking panini maker that anybody could have, you get these like soulless machines with like timers and different modes. It's not just makes paninis. It's like one of those things where they shoved in 10 different functions into one thing, so you lose all sense of direction and artistry, and it's just no longer creative cooking.
And it's one of the things that Michael Scott burns his foot on, pretty much. Right?
That's right.
George
There's
Foreman
like
grill.
Foreman's grill or whatever in a famous episode of The Office where freaking Steve Carell as Michael Gary Scott. Wow, I remembered his whole name. The office manager burns his foot while he's trying to make bacon because he likes to fall asleep to this. No, he likes to wake up to the sizzle of bacon, so he sets a timer the night before. Well, anyway, if I take a breath, though, my point is, I want to go back to simpler times with my sandwich panini press, David, and I loved it. Now I'm heartbroken that I can't get it. Sounds like a first world problem, folks, but guess what? Things are blowing up over here. Like the whole state of Ohio. So, while I'm dreaming about panini presses, we have seriously terrible things going on. So there is no first world anymore. Everybody's broken. Everyone. So, David, is there an as seen on TV thing that you also love that you can't get your hands on? Or there's actually a magical aisle in Walmart where you can get as seen on TV products.
I have one.
Can't see them on TV anymore, but
I can let Dave go first, but
the one thing that I've always flirted with buying, because I thought the commercials were ridiculous, but then I realized like, oh, there is a use for this, is the snuggie, because I have curled up under a blanket on my couch many times and realized like, oh, I need my drink, but it's cold out there. So
they have a bunch of variations on the snuggie, like the snuggie hoodie, the blanket hoodie.
Yeah, the comfy. I got the comfy.
But I always feel like I'd be trash if I get one. But like now I'm like, I see the practicality of it. So
I think, unless I imagined this or saw it in a movie, I think there's one that's like a snuggie but has a bowl of cereal in it. Like there's a thing to eat out of where the pockets are. Unless I made that up, and we should patent that shit and get it to market as fast as possible.
And they have ones for kitties where you can like put the cat inside the pocket.
What?
So
that sounds like a kangaroo thing. Like, hey, take your pet.
Although I'm disappointed, and maybe this is where I need to go pitch to Snuggie, is like they don't have a 2-person Snuggie, only one. Like it seems natural. Like if a love seat Snuggie,
so you can Human Centipede, or what is that movie? The horror movie?
The Human Centipede.
Yeah. So you can Human Centipede your loved ones.
I would love it, honestly. Like, give me a hole for one arm. I can hold his hand on the inside and have 2 separate hoods.
Well, I think you can do other things while you're in there.
This is true. Absolutely.
What you're holding, nobody knows because you're both inside the snuggie.
You would never guess. Mine would be the Bump It, which I don't know if you guys know what the Bump
That's
It.
a video game or like a handheld game, right?
No, it's for the hair. I should have pulled up an image.
What is it, like a scrunchie or something?
It was this plastic piece that you put, and it's like, it looks just like this section, like if it just went like this, and you would tease your hair to go over it, so you'd have this absolute hideous big,
like a Dr. Seuss Whoville haircut.
Kind of. It would
more
be
like Snooki.
Yes, it nailed
Snooki,
it.
how she had the bump in her hair. It was like basically to do that,
like the bump in the middle of the head, and it was
Did she endorse it? Is there like a Snooki exclusive bump it?
There might be. It would be cheetah print colored. Yeah. The Bump It. Not ever something that I wanted, but I was like, it was such the style, and I was like, I couldn't pull it off. But
I love as seen on TV commercials. They're like, have you ever seen the one for the teddy bear?
No, that's so interesting.
This is a product. This was a real product. It was a little teddy bear that you could attach to your seatbelt, and it was marketed towards women to say like, oh, well, if you put this, and they knew what they were doing.
There's no way the official title was the teddy bear.
I actually think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's called the Tiddy teddy bear.
Oh, teddy bear.
No, they pronounce it. The commercials say distinctly titty bear.
Interesting. Ooh, the origami. That was a cool one too.
Dave loves to take the show below the belt any chance he gets.
Let me tell you, if it was hair related, I've stayed up so many times watching like hour and a half long infomercials on this. It's like just mind numbing. But
my wife actually bought that stupid one.
The
air curler. Do you know what I'm talking? Where it's like, oh, just put your hair in it and it'll give you natural curls, and it didn't do anything but blow your hair around in a circle.
Yeah.
Well, even my panini press, as I said, had a defect, but it made really great sandwiches. But once the handle was gone, it fell apart. So that's the thing is I don't know how quality is. There's a whole movie trilogy based on the guy. Remember Night at the Museum?
Yeah.
He has like a special flashlight he's trying to sell. It's like an as seen on TV thing. Also, there's a whole other movie with him and Jack Black's going to come up later in the episode, folks, but I'm tying together Ben Stiller and Jack Black are in a as seen on TV movie where it makes your poop magically disappear or the dog poop magically disappear. Oh,
Envy.
Yeah, it like sends the vaporizer or something. That sounds like an as seen on TV thing that might actually really exist.
Interesting.
But it just magically makes the poop disappear, but then it all comes back at the end. I don't know. So we're going to, because they're like, people are probably like, why haven't you talked about Adam Sandler? We talked about him recently. He made a lot of rom-coms. Most of his movies would fall under the umbrella of rom-com, except for the dramas he gets cast in. But those aren't the movies he's producing, but most of what he makes with his own company is like a rom-com.
Yeah.
I said, okay, we'll take a poll. Best of his rom-coms and the worst. I got my 3 best and I got my worst that people should avoid. It's also on my mind because I watched one the other day. But I thought I would ask.
Believe it or not, I haven't seen too many. So out of like the 3 that I've really seen, I'll have to rate them that way. I feel like I've seen other Adam Sandler movies, but I don't know if you'd consider them rom-com. But my favorite would be 50 First Dates. I love that one so much.
Number 2 on my list.
Yeah. So many good lines from that. I love the big Hawaiian man who's like, you told toilet paper when he's like trying to take me. Wait, no. Yeah. When he's trying to take, nope, that's a different movie. Nope. Just had movie deja vu, swisheroo. Anyways, my least favorite, which is only because I've only seen 3, is probably Click, which I still kind of liked. Yeah.
I like that movie.
I got a departure on that. Me too.
I liked Hubie Halloween, which you two did not, and I thought that could be a rom-com. So yeah.
Basically every movie of his is a rom-com because they always pair him up with somebody way out of his league.
Total babe. Yeah, completely
Dave,
agree.
What's your list?
Mine would also include 50 First Dates. Then this is probably number 2 is probably my favorite movie of his, but I'm still going to say it's number 2 because it's a little lower on the rom-com side of things. But of course, Punch Drunk Love. But the only one that could be.
I tried to set you up for a softball like a couple seconds ago. I said of the movies he's produced, he's in the rom-coms. Punch Drunk Love is made by a different filmmaker, and he happens to be in.
Yeah, but he's part of it. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it had to be. Okay, then fine, then we'll just throw that out the window, even though it's still an Adam Sandler movie.
No, it's
well,
a
then
Paul
I mean,
Thomas Anderson movie.
Well, yeah, but he's in it. I mean, it's peanut butter and
I see what you tried
together.
to do there. Try to pull fast one, sneak that in there.
Well, and then okay, fine. Then we'll take that off the table. Then number one with a bullet would be Wedding Singer. Like you don't get much more romantic than that with that movie. I don't know. It's hard to say what the worst are because he's made some pretty bad movies. I mean, probably Mr. Deeds. I hated that movie. I didn't like anything about it. Oh, although did I just jump the gun by stating my worst one?
No, because I asked you, what are your best and what's your worst?
Yeah. Oh, then, yeah, definitely Mr. Deeds was probably the worst one that I can recall because I stopped watching his movies after a while. I think That's My Boy was the last one I saw in the theater. But
I kind of like that one. I forgot about That's My Boy. I watched that.
I kind of liked it too, but I mean, it was diminishing returns.
I think that more was the Andy Samberg movie.
Andy Samberg. I didn't see it, but I remember him being in it. I mean,
so at my top best, my number one is Clicked, which Jordan said, screw that.
No, I really liked it, but I was just like 50 First Dates is better.
50 First Dates number 2. Blended is number 3. But Blended also has Drew Barrymore. But it's like they each have different kids, and then it's kind of like they're going to build a step family, and they go on a vacation and have to pretend they're already a family, and then of course they fall in love. It's a rom-com. There's another movie like that called Just Go With It, where he's a plastic surgeon, and Jennifer Aniston has to pretend to be the wife with the kids to impress the new girlfriend because she thinks he's just a shallow plastic surgeon. But Blended and Just Go With It are too much alike. So Just Go With It is the inferior one, but it has some weird moments because it also has Nick Swardson, right? And
I didn't see it.
It's just like in that movie, it's like lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. So at one point, Nick Swardson's character is pretending to be like a German businessman who's obsessed with sheep, and then at one point has to revive a dead sheep. So,
but does he play her guy that she brings?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the boyfriend of Jennifer, because Jennifer is supposed to be the ex-wife, right, of the plastic surgeon.
Right.
Yeah, and you're right. Nick Swardson is supposed to be her German boyfriend who's into all weird stuff. Which is really funny because he just does it. They didn't plan him to do that. He just like took the opportunity and jumped in. On my worst list, Hubie's at the top.
No,
and it's the only thing worse than Hubie is Jack and Jill, where Adam Sandler plays twins, a man and a female twin. But the most interesting thing about that movie is that Al Pacino is obsessed with Jill. Like he wants to fall in love with the female twin. Chases her around the whole movie, interrupts a play he's doing on Broadway to try to get her on a phone call with him. But the best thing about that movie is the endorsement of Dunkin' Donuts, where Al Pacino is in a Dunkachino commercial, but then says, and I might have brought this up on a couple episodes ago because I just love the music video, where he's like, you must burn this. Nobody can ever see the copy of this Dunkachino music video. However, the actual clip from the movie where he's watching the music video, they actually had him film it in the movie, so you can actually watch this Dunkachino, coffee commercial music video, and it's really entertaining. So, but that's my list. Where are we at? Okay, so there's a couple different lifestyles. They're both active. Are you a homebody or a travel body? And this kind of goes, I guess, to Tinder dates. If it has to do with romances, I guess it's like matching up your Tinder matches or your relationships or whatever. But also, it's like, before the show started, I'm kind of like stuck on like, oh, I should go to this thing in Brooklyn. There's like a networking event in Brooklyn, but I was told last minute, and I'm like, but a plane ticket's like this much money, a hotel's this much money, and it's just at a pizza bar where they make pizza. So it's like, and it's not like Lenny's. Lenny's just closed, which was featured in Saturday Night Fever. So they're not even in Brooklyn anymore. They just closed like Saturday. So it's like this, like, do the pros outweigh the cons? I'm not sure. And I was just feeling like really conflicted, but it's like not enough notice. But I realized, actually, I have anxiety around traveling like anything. Like, what do? Like, I watch movies. So like, I'm more of a homebody. I used to go outdoorsy. I love swimming, but I mostly stay at home. So it's like, oh, I'll probably get killed by a household accident. I'll trip on my panini press or something. You know what I mean? like, so I was just like, oh, I should ask my co-hosts, like, from a philosophical standpoint, like, are they a travel body and get excited by all the travel they have to do and organizing the travel? Because I was thinking about, like, oh, I need to get a pre-board check so I don't have to stand in a line because I can't do the lines at the airport. Also, I don't travel with anything anymore. I don't bring suitcases, shampoo, none of that stuff. I figured, like, I bring one outfit. I buy an outfit wherever I'm going. I buy all my toiletries while I'm there, and I leave them there, like, or I throw them away at the hotel because I can't deal with the TSA moment where it's like, take all your stuff off, put all your stuff through the thing. You can take the shampoo, but you can't take this mouthwash. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing. It's bordering on mental illness. I'll admit that, but you know what I mean? Like I just can't. I can't do. So I was looking at private charter airplanes. It's like, what does it cost to take a private jet for an hour from Boston to Brooklyn? I was like, oh, it's extremely expensive. It's extremely expensive. Yeah. So here's hoping celebrity status for you this year, Dave, that you'll be able to board a private jet at some point. Also talking about coordinating trips. I'm like, we're going to get the podcasters on this show together. We do this like virtually, folks. You might know that already. I mean, I don't know. They might know that. I don't know. Is there a point? Are you a travel body? I think Jordan's a travel body, but I don't want to peg her incorrectly.
I'm really more of a homebody, but I am a good traveler. But I think that there's a sweet
now
spot.
She has a broken door in her apartment and she can't get out. She's trapped.
I have to stay home at this point. That's what the multi-tool is for.
Yeah.
No, I think that there's a sweet spot on a travel trip though. No more than 5 days. If it's more than 5 days, like an actual vacation, I think it should be no more than 5 days.
Do you think that number of days makes it worth the traveling? Like if you're there for 5 days, then it justifies the money you have to spend?
No, I just think like after like night 4, I'm just like, okay, I'd rather be in my bed with my cats. I think like that's what makes me super sad. Is
how do you handle the airport? Getting through the lines, think it's all fine. That crap.
I by one of like the largest airports in the United States. You know, LAX is one of them too, but the DIA is massive.
Oh, so, Denver International. Mm-hmm. So you don't get riddled with, like, so maybe I guess it's all a head trip, right? It must all be a state of mind.
I travel light too. Like I pack a bag and I don't really bring a whole lot of
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the people that bring like
stuff.
Their entire house with them when they travel. So they got like 5 suitcases and they have to take off 3 belts, 2 pairs of shoes, and like I'm trying to travel with nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing like one outfit, easy on, easy off. Get through there without causing so many security disruptions, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying, David?
What are you, Dave? Are you a homebody or are you a travel body?
I'm definitely a homebody because like traveling gives me anxiety. Even just like a weekend getaway, I'm like, oh, you got to find the Airbnb or the hotel or.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So do you think in circles like about like how am I going to get the hotel? Where's the hotel? Like, do you...
Yeah, basically, like, is it in a good neighborhood? Does it have free parking? Does it have Wi-Fi? You know, like all those things. You know, because we do the show. Like, if I travel for the weekend, I'm like, it's got to have Wi-Fi because I got to watch the movie of the week or plan. Yeah. See, you're getting me thinking about it already, getting anxiety. I'm already planning like a trip in like 2 weeks, and now you got my mind going on that.
No, but I'm so excited for my trip in 2 weeks.
Where are you going?
Well, I know I have to go to Seattle and probably Austin. So yeah, I haven't figured out anything yet. And so I am riddled with anxiety, but it's like all to try to make the show bigger and better, you know?
Yay.
But that's a lot. So I almost want to be almost like it's wishful thinking. It's like, hey, have like a person that they just figure out all this stuff. But then that costs money too.
You go to a college and find a PA. Or
We're gonna get that intern.
Yeah, there you
Work
go.
Experience.
Get an unpaid intern.
Yeah, unpaid interns. You got a place in the world. Our next goofy game we're playing on this episode. This is an unusual episode. We have like all these little mini games. It's fine. Is one of our listeners wanted to know: have we crashed a wedding, and are we excited for Wedding Crashers 2? We are excited for Wedding Crashers 2, at least from my standpoint, because we mentioned the rumor mill of it a few episodes ago, and yeah, I'm on board. Let's see. It's Dave, who's in Wedding Crashers? Vince Vaughn.
Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
Owen Wilson, yeah. So okay, gonna be great. I think it should happen. I'd love to see it. They should bring back Will Ferrell, who's crashing funerals in that movie. I've crashed some hotel weddings for sure, but they're already in progress, like during the party moments, and they don't really care. It's an open bar. Haven't really gotten in trouble or gotten caught. Never gotten yelled at. But of course, and there you wouldn't believe me because I just told you how much I hate to travel. but yeah, I've gotten into some wedding bar situations at hotels where it's already in full swing. So, an extra cousin at the bar or whatever, it's not going to really make a difference. I guess you would stand out if like the wedding was very specific, right? To like a ceremony or type of wedding, but
yeah,
modern weddings that it was just people hanging out, telling jokes. Yeah, I've done it at least probably once or twice. What about you, Jordan?
No official weddings. I've never crashed an official wedding. So I would, though, on my shift when I would be bartending a wedding at the catering company I worked for, we would like sneak off into exhibits because it was in museums and then be, drinking some of the champagne. So I'd still have a little fun, but not an official crash. So...
Well, usually everybody's in such good spirits at a wedding, they include the bartenders and the service people in the party. Like, come on, guys.
It's a little hard to hide, though, when you're wearing, like, tuxedo pants and, like, a white button-up shirt with a tie. But, it was fun to sneak away for a little bit. What about you, Dave?
I've never crashed a wedding, so I can't say I've done that. And I have not worked in proximity to a bar or to a wedding to, even join in. But, no. Just been invited to weddings and gotten really drunk.
Thought it was more commonplace. Now I feel like a piece of shit. Like I'm like going to people's weddings and drinking their booze.
I mean,
it might be commonplace, but like I said, if you don't have the opportunity, I haven't been at a hotel when one's going on.
Wow. Some pretty exciting home video headlines. There's a Hellboy reboot of the reboot based on one of the more creepy graphic novels, Hellboy the Crooked Man. And it's going to be written by Mike Mignola, who is the actual creator of Hellboy. So he's working on the script with one of the Dark Horse comic book writers. So it should be pretty good. However, I like Hellboy so much. I watched all the cartoon movies. I watched the first two movies with Ron Perlman. I watched the third Hellboy with the other reboot with David Harbour.
Yeah.
So I'm on board. It's easy. This is easy for me because I'm a fanboy. It's like it's a guaranteed thing. I'll buy the ticket, right?
I'll wait to hear what people say. I didn't care for the Guillermo del Toro ones. I know people loved them. They're not bad. They just weren't for me. And I didn't even finish the David Harbour one. There was some interesting stuff about it, but it was just like a weak story. It was just something was off about it. But if I hear it's good, I'll watch it.
You'll be watching some Hellboy before the year is out. I think it's somewhere on the playlist.
Yeah, all right.
He just rolled his eyes. If you're only listening, David rolled his eyes at Hellboy. Somebody make note of
that. They're fine.
David Harbour, if you're listening, you rolled his eyes at Hellboy.
Hey, I like Stranger Things. I just didn't care for the Hellboy.
Oh, here's one that'll get you going, David. How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Do it. We haven't had a good dragon movie in theaters since what? Dragonheart?
The original Dragonheart? Not the made for...
No, I'm talking the original. I haven't even seen any of the sequels. The direct-to-video sequels.
Have you seen How to Train Your Dragon, Jordan?
No, but I know who Toothless is because he's super cute.
He's awesome.
Yeah, my cat looks like Toothless as well, so I think she's super cute.
I just don't know how they're going to use any of the cast. Like, it'd be really funny to see Jay Baruchel show up. I mean, he plays Hiccup, which is the main character, Viking dude, who works with the Toothless Dragon in the cartoons, but I mean, he's older than his character, so I don't know
what
character he would play in a live-action version. And also, who's that comedian that's kind of fallen out of favor who was on Silicon Valley for a few seasons?
Oh, T.J. Miller.
Yeah, T.J. Miller, up and down, controversial guy. Tonight's movie has a controversial actor. We'll get to that in a little while, but he's
controversial now.
What?
You can definitely label him as controversial.
Yeah, he's a little bit out there. We'll get around to it. The nanny who witnessed the fallout between Olivia Wilde and Ted Lasso. Just kidding. His name is Jason Sudeikis in real life, folks. But anyway, they had like a notorious public divorce and a lot of back and forth. And then apparently, I thought the nanny was gonna like write a tell-all book, but apparently she's suing them for like, I don't know, distress or trauma. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. It sounds like a tabloid thing ready for New York Post or like, you know, the rags, like tabloid journalism reporting.
Hey, she lost a job too when they split up. So I mean, sure, she needs to get paid. You know?
Yeah, that's true. It might have affected her during the pandy. Yeah, man.
I was excited. I thought you were going to give me some news about the TV show, The Nanny. Like, there's a long pause.
Oh, there's a nanny TV reboot coming from freaking Hulu.
I'd watch it. Yeah.
That became my pandemic watch.
Fran Drescher plays the mother-in-law of the new nanny. Is going to teach her how to, I don't know, raise the children
and dress well.
Wow.
Maybe
crossover some other show that's also remade. Speaking of remakes, Dead Ringers, which was could have fit into a bad romance movie month or weird movie month. Dead Ringers is a horror movie where Jeremy Irons plays twins. I don't know if I'm recollecting the movie correctly because I think one of the twins kills the other, and we don't know which twin he is at the end of the movie. Or they're just murderers together. I don't remember exactly what the obsession is in that movie. I would have to watch it again to really.
They were obsessed over
I'm blanking on the whole
woman.
movie, but I just know it's Jeremy Irons playing twins. It's a horror movie.
Yeah.
And now Rachel Weisz is going to play the twins in like a miniseries or something on one of the cable streamers.
Isn't there already a show just like that? It's called Echoes. I think it's on Netflix. She plays a twin and one of the twins is missing, but then she also like plays both. Like she like pretends to be both twins and is playing like both sides of the story, but
there's only one lady. They're not really twins, or they are twins.
Well, there's twins in the show, right? But one of the twins goes missing, and then the solo twin decides to fake to be the other twin.
Have you ever seen The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey? And
no, I heard about it tons of times. I feel like
Matthew
that should
Broderick.
be a shameful screening.
The Cable Guy is like a dark comedy that Judd Apatow made, but there's like a movie within a movie because they're doing like the televised.
It's supposed to be like the Menendez brothers, but it's with Ben
so you know the Menendez brothers, like one of the twins killed like their parents or whatever, but in this movie version, one of the twins kills the other twin. And it's Ben Stiller, and so they'll in the movie they cut to like the ongoing trial, right? Like on cable news, like hard copy or Inside Edition or something, and it's really funny. And I always thought like they should have really done like a comedy about a twin that murders the other twin, like a really hard edged like
Twinception I mean? Coming soon. Yeah.
What's great about that in The Cable Guy is like he's right. It's like it's on in the background, like they never focus on it, but there's always in the background, like
But by the end of the movie, you kind of like heard the whole story. You know what I mean? Because they cut to it enough that you've heard like this whole other story.
Like he was a child actor on like a TV show called Double Trouble. Like an 80s show. He was stopped being famous, so then he killed his brother, and it's hilarious. That could have been its own movie, as John said.
Yeah, it would have been awesome. Finally, folks, we're not talking about paninis or
Adam Sandler,
or getting stuck or having to go through TSA checkpoints. The movie of the week is called The Last Detail. It's a hidden gem of Jack Nicholson movies. If you haven't seen it, it's basically... Oh, it's also a Hal Ashby movie. We might have mentioned that at the top of the hour. So two petty officers from the Navy, they have to take another sailor who's in trouble named Meadows. They have to deliver him to a prison. And on the way there, they kind of start to like the guy. And they're like, how can we do this? Because like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Like we can't really help them because then we'll lose our careers. They're like mid-level Navy guys. And they have such a sweet setup right now because neither of them are actively assigned to either a war zone or a ship. So they're kind of like kicking back, spending petty cash. It's Jack Nicholson as a character called Budowski and Otis Young as a character called Mulehall, who they call Mule. And then Randy Quaid as Meadows, who's the young, wet behind his ears officer that they're taking to the brig. And he supposedly his crime is he stole $40 from a charity plate at a Navy dinner sponsored by like the Navy base's officer's wife. I'm like, oh, that's why they came down hard, because he made somebody's wife angry, and the wife pestered the Navy officer to prosecute this poor guy. It's just like wrath of the Navy wife. and then comes to find out he didn't actually take the $40, but they want to put him 8 years in the brig or the military prison or whatever, 8 years, which is kind of nuts. And they think it's nuts, but they can't really do anything about it because they're not like advocates. They're just like, they kind of realize, like, as the movie goes on, you kind of get the feeling that these two guys know what a sweet spot they're set up in, and so they don't want to rock the boat or tip the boat over if we're using metaphors or whatever. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's see if Dave brought the dangerous trivia, the facts. Let's see what he's got. There's a bunch of cameos in this movie. Let's see if he found some. Let's see what he thinks about Hal Ashby. Dave, what do you got?
Well, I'm kind of all over the place with these facts. There's a lot to go over here. This movie was.
Okay, you're gonna live up to expectations tonight, Dave.
But it's all gonna relate.
You're gonna be a hero. You're gonna let us down.
So the script was actually completed in 1970, but the studio who had it, Columbia, wanted screenwriter Robert Towne to tone down the language in the movie as they felt it was too profane at the time. However, it just got caught in limbo, and the culture ended up catching up with the script, and it was made 2 years later without any changes. The movie was essentially shot twice because they would shoot alternate takes that had cleaner scenes, less language for a TV cut. In fact, the editor of the movie agreed to cut the TV version only because he wanted to make sure it was done right and not a hack job, as it was going to be done with or without him. So I actually started watching it. There is a TV cut that replaces all the language and alternate takes and so forth. It's like almost.
Is it better?
No, I mean, but having said that, it also doesn't take away, like they really, from what I watched, they got around it really well as far as the TV cut goes. Speaking of all the language, this has 65 uses of the F word, which was the record at the time. So this was like the first they called it like one of the first like big bad language movies, or like big cussing movies. You get away with an F word here and there, but this was like the first one to have a ton in one movie. So speaking of Hal Ashby, during pre-production in Canada, he was arrested for possession of marijuana, which nearly cost him the job because the studio was looking for any excuse to get rid of him. However, Jack Nicholson stuck by him, and the studio kind of had to too. And talking about Mule, the role of Mule was originally given to an actor named Rupert Cross, who was a friend of Jack Nicholson's. However, just prior to shooting, he was diagnosed with cancer, and they actually put the movie on pause for about a week to give him time to decide whether he wanted to move on or not. And they ended up giving the role to Otis Young playing Mule. So me and John were actually talking about this amongst ourselves earlier. There is an unofficial sequel to this movie made just a few years ago called Last Flag Flying, written and directed by, directed by Richard Linklater. It was actually the script was written by the author of both the book and the sequel. But Richard Linklater's called it an unofficial sequel or a spiritual sequel. So
but even it's kind of misleading because the guy with the mustache in Last Flag Flying is not Budowski, and Nicholson rocks like a classic mustache in The Last Detail that's like iconic. So you would think when you see the new movie, oh, mustache must equal mustache, but it doesn't. The Bryan Cranston character is Budowski. The Steve Carell character is Meadows, and then Mulehall is now called Mueller or something, and it's played by Lawrence.
Well, yet they still call him the Mule, but like the proper last name is. Although
in this story, Meadows' son is supposed to have gotten killed in action in like Afghanistan or something, and like they're trying to go retrieve the body.
Yeah.
That movie came out a couple years ago.
The way to read the mustache, though.
They don't. If you hadn't seen like the behind the scenes and heard the filmmakers and the actors say that it was a sequel, I never correlated the two movies like at all because they're so different.
They are. I heard about it somewhere. Like I can't remember where I read it, but like I think I told you I'd seen both of these movies independently of one another, and then I read somewhere that they were connected. And watching them this time, you could see the connections. But
so, were you going to mention Hal Ashby's filmography at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk more about one of his movies later, but yeah, he started off as an editor. I can't remember if he won an Academy Award, but he definitely cut the movie In the Heat of the Night, which was a big Oscar winner. He did a few. He was like one of those guys that worked his way up through editing.
Harold and Maude, Shampoo, Coming Home, Being There with Peter Sellers. Two other more indie style things that are really cool.
He did like a
with
Rolling Stones documentary,
8 Million Ways to Die with Jeff Bridges and Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah. He's mostly known for his 70s work. Like I know you just mentioned some of his 80s stuff, but there's actually a great documentary if you want to learn about the guy more called How, that kind of goes into that and like how his 80s work, he was just kind of done with the studios and just did a lot of for hire work. He wasn't as passionate.
Those celeb cameos now. There's a New Ager scene where they're chanting. You got Gilda Radner, the comedian who's in the first season role of SNL. Probably considered one of the greatest living female comedians of all time. You got Nancy Allen, who's going to turn into a huge actress in the 80s and 90s. She's in RoboCop. She's in Dress to Kill. She's in The Big Chill.
Yeah.
That's some of her best stuff. You also got Jim Horn, who's like a famous musician. He's in that scene as well. The biggest cameo in the movie probably, though, plays a sex worker. Because basically, as the story goes on in this movie, they realize this kid doesn't have a lot of life experience except for shoplifting, which they set out early on in the movie to show you that like the most devious thing about Meadows, besides his innocence, is he does tend to steal whatever he can get his hands on, mostly candy. They want to get him laid because there's like he can't go to prison for 8 years and not having made love to a woman at all. Right. And then they are trying to hang out with these chicks. It doesn't work at a party because there's like it's like at the time that Dave's talking about like social revolution. It's like the servicemen aren't that hot in this town they're in. They kind of more encounter like hippies. So it's like counterculture. So they're like, oh no, we're not going to hook up with you. You're Navy guys. And then it's like they're at the wrong party. So then later on, you know, they visit a special house. They meet the ladies of the night. They hook up with a sex worker, but that's Carol Kane, who's also a comedian. She's in The Princess Bride as Miracle Max's wife.
Taxi.
She plays the fairy ghost in Scrooge. And she's also in Jumpin' Jack Flash.
I bet you most modern audiences would remember her from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She was the landlord in that show.
She also does a voice in that hormone cartoon that everybody loves on Netflix, the animated thing.
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth, yeah.
Who does she play?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's one of the old women characters. I don't know. I don't know the show that well, so.
I watched that show and I'll have to look. I don't recognize her voice in that show, but I'm sure she's there.
She's really interesting in this movie. She's like slightly. I don't know if it's the director did this or she did this, but she's like captivating in like a mysterious way. Like you want to know more about her, but you don't. She's only in the movie for like 10 minutes, so you don't really know why she's stuck there, how she got in that life. But you want to know because she's more like a legitimate character.
It's kind of interesting. Like there's not a ton of young Carol Kane that I've seen. And like, she usually plays like really weird, eccentric characters. It's just kind of built in, but like, she's actually like very sexy. Like, it's kind of weird. Cause like I said, she usually plays
captivating. Really, that's the word I was looking for.
She's really crazy characters. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see a different side of her, like a more dramatic side of her. But
she's usually playing like very like hostile, angry, frustrated characters, which is part of her comedy. Like Miracle Max's wife. Have you seen The Princess Bride, Jordan?
I have, but it's been so long. Like
she's the one that too brave. No, he clearly said true love. You know, like it's a big moment in that movie. Where are we at? Let's see.
I think we're up to the booths.
Oh, actually, messages. Okay, so we've been plugging this Dubby energy blends on the show as like our official energy drink this month. We actually helped them sell out of some of their flavors, so now they're doing pre-orders. Some of those flavors might be available, but if you take the time to go to their little thing and you put in this code, spoiler, you'll get 10% off the energy drink blends, which are pretty good. I got the lemonade one. I have the blueberry one. The fruit punch that I sent Jordan is now sold out.
It is delicious.
It'll come back, though.
Yeah.
But kind of cool to get an email saying that like we help them as one of their content partners, like sell the hell out of their energy blends. So good we are, folks. So if you're an energy drink maker out there and you want to be official sponsors, get a hold of Frank the Cat.
Yes.
He'll get the ad placed on the show. That's like an inside joke, unless they go back and listen to the 4 other jokes we made about our HR, human resources being Jordan's cat. Figure it out, folks. I'm not going to help you draw a map to our other episodes.
Yes, Frank takes all sponsorship inquiries at frank at bwpodcast.com. So.
So that's a W report. And yeah, Dave's right. We've arrived at the favorite bits, which are led by Jordan. Favorite bits from this movie.
Off. I would say my bit is 2 parts. It starts off in the hotel room, right? So they're like progressively taking him through all these experiences so he can have these experiences before he's put away for 8 years. It definitely makes you feel a little bit like preparing a delicious steak dinner for a very, very, very old dog that you have, you know? But they're in the hotel room and he's having his first beer and what's his name? Badesky is teaching him the hand motions.
Yeah.
And he makes him repeat them back. And so I love how they bring that joke back later on when Meadows tries to escape.
Yeah, he's using it as a distraction, but he's actually good at doing the motions. So it's like he has potential as a Navy officer. That's the whole deal.
Yeah, right.
You know what, though? You reminded me that the beer they're drinking is called Slits, which is a Midwest beer. I was talking to Dave about this. I was like, I had to Google this. Where is this beer?
Schlitz.
Like, so Slits is like Pabst Blue Ribbon bought it in like 99 when its factory stopped making it. And then in like 2020, another brewery bought the formula or the people, Blue Ribbon that owns Pabst also owns that formula and then sourced it out to another company to make Slits. But then they're not like making it. Like it's in like Florida, somewhere in the Midwest and like another place. And like, that's it. So it's very original, but it would be cool. Somebody track it down. Everything I clicked to order it is like sold out.
Oh goodness. Yeah, it would be cool. I'm all game.
But it was a famous from like the 70s, 80s. So like this movie's like a time capsule because that beer, you think it's like a fake movie prop. And then you Google it and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a real famous beer. you know.
Well, they did the product placement really, really good. So yeah, definitely.
Well, speaking of it, because I saw you talked about that before I watched that part in the movie, but like there's Pabst Blue Ribbon right next, like they're interchangeably drinking Schlitz and Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah. But it kind of sets the mood, David. These are the kind of guys they are, you know?
Right. Hey, I got some Pabst in my fridge. I get it.
There you go. Yeah. Meadows.
You said he had another bit?
Yeah, well, just that he signals bye-bye as he's like trying to book it. So I thought that was pretty funny. But what about you, Dave?
You know, I wasn't planning to talk about this part, but now that you mentioned in the hotel, there's just they do the best drunk acting I've seen in a long time. Like the key to good drunk acting that I've noticed is not to like act so boisterous, but to like be drunk, but try to act like you're not drunk. So like stumbling when you're like trying to balance yourself. And there's a lot of that going on and trying to decide who's going to take the day beds or not the day beds, but the fold outs, those kinds of things. And just them struggling, trying to open these cots. Like I'm imagining like I've been that drunk. Like I was particularly looking at Mule and he's just like swaying back and forth. I'm like, I've been that drunk and like to think about that and trying to mess with one of those beds would be a nightmare.
Close one eye to focus a little better.
Yeah. But like there's a line I love in the beginning. You know, it's just a great turn of phrase like, oh, I wouldn't shit you. You're my favorite turd. That kind of killed me. But the other bit is just the arc of you know, Meadows. Just a little scene where, you know, he's like, oh, I hope they melt my cheese at the diner. And, you know, he gets in, Jack Nickel or, you know, Budowski asks him if it's, you know, correct. He's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And like, just that idea of like, they're trying to boost him. Like, even though they're sending him to jail, like they're still trying to like give him a sense of confidence, which clearly he doesn't have.
They nurture him.
You know, like there's that scene later on, you know, calling back to that where like, oh, well, these eggs aren't over medium and him at least speaking up for himself. I don't even think they fixed the eggs for him, but just the fact that he even said something.
We don't see them bring it back, but he does stop the waiter on the train to fix his eggs. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He stops him. I just didn't know if they brought it back, but long story short, he had his arc. He finally stuck up for himself, even just as something as simple as like, these are not the eggs I wanted or how I wanted them. I don't know. That just kind of, stuck with me. I mean, it's funny because I mostly know Randy Quaid is an old actor, but like watching him here, I mean, this is one of the few movies where he's like just a baby face. You know, it's kind of interesting because I'm always thinking of like Crazy Cousin Eddie or something.
Jack Nicholson looked so fine too in that mustache, I have to say. So I was like, okay, all right. Anyways, John.
Yeah. And what about you, John? So
the sequence that I like is like when they are on their first ride into DC, then they're on their first outing. They get their first 6-pack of beer and they're freezing to death and they're trying to figure out if they want to go to a hotel or try to catch the last train. And then they're in the scene that Jordan's talking about where they're drinking the beers. And the general atmosphere of the movie is really good because there's stuff that like are believable. Like when he tries to escape in the public park and Jack Nicholson's character falls down the hill and loses his boot and then gets so upset that he starts pistol whipping him. You're like, yeah, and in real life, like intense moments like that, there is also an element of like tomfoolery or like accidental mishaps. Like the hero would lose a shoe in real life, not in a movie, but in like in real life, you would lose your boot and still have to perform your duty. But that's the things they leave out, you know what I'm saying? Like in a big action movie, they're like, we're not going to have this guy lose his shoes, but in real war, you'll lose a boot or a knife or something silly will happen and you still have to continue the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice that the movie does these things that seem like pretty real, and could happen. Like, they happen to be like in the kid's hometown at some point. They're like, do you want to go see, like, do you want to hang out in your house? Do you like want to say goodbye to your parents before you get booted or whatever? And then you find out like he's raised by an alcoholic mom because you don't see her, but you see like all her accoutrement, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, that's why he was swearing off beer early on and everything. I feel like it's pretty down to earth. I don't know how accurate the petty officer behavior is. I don't know where they got these military, if they're military attitudes or if military people like the movie or not. Like, I can kind of confirm that actually. Because of this movie, actually, honestly, even though they make a mistake and they beat him up, like, one of the saddest parts, though, I'll say, is like they don't even actually get to say goodbye to the character Meadows. Like, he gets rushed away by the MPs at the jail so quickly, and they're kind of like shell shocked. Like the Budowski and Mulehall are like, they wanted one last moment with the kid, but then he's taken away and he's jailed or whatever. So there's not like real closure or like a real goodbye. But then they snap back into like, oh, we're on our detail. Like the mission's over. We got to go back or whatever. It is really funny that they don't get in trouble because their officer forgot to sign the detail. Like the orders aren't signed, but the other guy would have to then report that it wasn't signed, but he accepted the prisoner, which would make him look bad. So everybody's just kind of like, oh, just move it along, Yeah. Pretty interesting. Or another funny moment is when they there's like a competitiveness between the different branches of the military. So like when they meet the army guys and they have the bathroom fight and then take off, kind of funny. Again, it's one of my favorite Jack Nicholson movies, so I think we know which way I'm going to go for the ratings, which is where we are. Because it's Romance Month, we've done like it or love it, like it, or hate it. We usually say binge now, binge later, binge never, but we're doing a special thing where we're saying love it, like it, or hate it.
I liked it.
Oof, just a like. All right, can't win them all.
Took a little bit for me to warm up to it, but I was really glad I stuck it out because it definitely got better and better as they tried to, give him his experiences before they put him away. What about you, Dave?
This is a love it. I mean, I really do love these types of movies. I mean, they don't, not trying to sound like an old fogey, but they really don't make a lot of like small little character pieces like this before.
You're not a fogey, dude. This was made before you, bro.
Well, I know, but I mean, but I'm trying not to be like, oh, they don't make movies like this anymore. But like, it's also just kind of true. Like they don't. Like this is, I mean, there's big stakes, but I mean, the movie's very low key. Like I feel like if this was made today, I don't know, they'd push it in one extreme direction or another. But it's just like, it feels like a very small movie, but a very big stakes movie at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I love this movie. Like this is only the second time I've seen it, and I'll probably watch it again in the next few years. I don't know. I think we know where John's going, but give your official rating, John.
Oh, I love it. I'm shocked by Jordan's rating, but then she surprised me last week because she loved that, and I didn't like that movie, and so I've completely erased last week. Was it last week that you loved it, or the week before?
I can't.
She liked last week.
I liked last week.
The Reflecting Skin.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so if we have 2 love it's and 1 like, that means overall 2 out of 3. So that's a love it for the rating of this movie.
Yeah.
We have another fan that sent in another freaking was too shy to kind of make a voicemail for us because we've been doing bad dating voicemails, but kind of a funny question. Send us an email. It's kind of like a 2-parter. How do we handle being hit on by like our same sex? So basically, like, I'm a man. How do I handle getting hit on by men? Jordan's a girl. What do you do when girls hit on you? Dave, same thing, same question. And have we also seen The D with Jack Black? But it's actually that movie I think is referring to The D Train with James Marsden, not to be confused with James Marster. But that's a comedy. It's entertaining. I did actually see that a few months ago. It's kind of funny. So do you guys know that movie?
It's been on my watch list for a long time, but I haven't sat and watched it.
Jack Black is like not popular, but he's on the committee to do like a high school reunion. And then one of their classmates became an actor and went to Hollywood. So Jack Black goes to find James Marsden's character in Hollywood, and they end up hooking up. But Jack Black's never had a same-sex situation. So then he has to go back to his hometown and say, like, well, did you get the actor to come to the reunion? And suddenly he's like, now he was like basically trying to have them, pay for the guy's hotel flight and all this stuff, like to get the famous guy to come to their reunion. But then when he gets back, his whole attitude has changed, right? Because, well, the other classmates don't know about the hookup, right? So now Jack Black's like, I cheated on my wife. Like, this is awkward. And then, like, Jack Black starts to feel used and thrown away by the other guy, but then the other guy does decide he wants to come back and get back to the normal life in the hometown. So that's when it gets ridiculous, but it's kind of funny. And it also has Catherine Hahn,
oh, nice.
The actor who's in Afternoon Delight. She's in Step Brothers. She played a witch in the Marvel show.
She's Agatha.
Yeah, she's in a lot of things, so she's pretty cool. Hahn, not Khan. Catherine Hahn. Yeah, so who wants to answer the sexy question first?
Me, I'll go. I always feel flattered. I will flirt a little back, but also,
Get them free drinks at the bar.
Yeah. I always feel flattered. Dave?
I've only had it happen a couple of times, and same. I've been flattered. Like, in fact, I'm oblivious to like anybody's like I don't know, affection or
until you wake up in their trunk.
But actually, one time, me and my wife were going bar hopping in San Francisco, and we ended up in this one place like that. The mood was just right. Like they had good music on.
Were you down in the Castro district, Dave?
No, no. This was actually in the Haight, but know, I have hung around the Castro. But yeah, so like this bar just seemed cool, and then it just dawned on us like where we were. Like there was Titanic on the TV instead of sports. My wife pointed out the pink triangle.
So everything's setting the mood.
And I'm like, oh, and then it finally dawned on me, and that's fine. And this guy just sloppy drunk next to us, like just leaned in, like, would you tell this boy he's cute, referring to me? And I'm like, and I blushed because like I don't get hit on, and like this was like, oh, he blatantly hit on me, and I was like. I was flattered by it. I was like, giddy, like, oh, thanks. But I'm with my lady, kind of a thing. So yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with it. John?
No, I mean, I'm going to just echo the same sentiment. Actually, like in high school, I thought it was awkward. Then in college, so as you were saying, like about being oblivious or like not registering something, like a dude bought me a $200 pair of boots. And then like, we went out. We were doing activities, but they were technically dates, I guess, right? So we were, you know what I mean? Like,
wait. This how have you not written this into a script? Hold on. This is a whole short movie right here.
I was like, oh shit, this dude's really into me. He bought me a really expensive pair of fucking boots at Rodeo Drive fucking Beverly Hills fucking store. Holy shit.
I feel like that's the difference between guys hitting on guys and girls hitting it on girls, because girls, I feel like, make it blatantly obvious. You know, like there's no way you could mistake that, but I don't know.
It's like, I guess I didn't give in to his like magnets, like all these feelers he was putting out, but like I was getting wined and dined. Didn't even realize it. Nice boots. They were great boots, man. Rocked them for like 4 years. Didn't know I had a sense of style.
I loved it.
Also flattered. I think that's the right response. Not getting into a bar fight over it, like not committing a hate crime. That's probably the wrong thing.
Yeah,
play it cool.
good.
That's all I can say. Just play it cool.
Yeah.
Play it cool. Could be a chapter in the book of your life. You never know. Never know. Dave, how's my biography coming?
We're up to the 3rd chapter.
Chapter 3.
Yeah.
Let's see. Staff picks. If we want to recommend something to the audience that's relative to the theme, which is love movies, rom-coms, whatever. You got something this week, Jordan?
Something that falls in the whatever category.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just was gonna bring it up only because you brought up Hellboy earlier. My man's making me watch Sons of Anarchy for the first time.
Whoa.
Never seen it. Yeah. So
you got some traumatizing scenes coming up.
I believe that. Yeah. I just watched some man's back get burned off. So that's
and some hard love.
There's
a lot of hard love in that show.
I believe that. Yeah.
Street love.
Anyways.
Hold on. I've never seen that show. Is it like now?
You've
like
never seen Sons of Anarchy?
No,
David?
I have not seen Sons of Anarchy.
That's like right up David's alley. Like, David, you got a jacket like those dudes, okay?
Dave,
yeah, you know anything about me? I am nothing.
David the leather.
The funny thing is, that's my family. I am like the total opposite of that.
Yeah, it's pretty good so far. So, anyways, Dave, you said you watched another movie.
I did. I actually, well, this is not my recommendation, but like me and the wife tried to, like, you know, Valentine's Day, we threw on like a new romantic comedy, My Place Yours. Don't watch that. That's not what I'm recommending. In fact, it was so awful, I had to wash it out with a good movie. Since we watched a Hal Ashby movie this week, and it was Valentine's Day, after my wife went to bed, I decided to rewatch Harold and Maude. And for anybody who's not seen it, this is like a very classic cult movie. I was surprised to find out it wasn't a hit when it came out, but it grew a cult over the years. But basically a young guy who's obsessed with death. His father's out of the picture. His mother dotes on him and he just wants to be left alone. But he's really into death. He like constantly fakes suicides in front of his mother to like get a rise out of her. And he hangs out at funerals where he meets Maude, who is 80 years old and he's 21. They actually form a romance between an 80-year-old. This is like spring, very, very winter romance. But like, it's kind of weird. Like, I hadn't seen this in years, and like, you forget how lovable the character of Maude is. Like, she's this little old lady, and as weird as it is, like, when you watch the two together, you're like, okay, I kind of buy it. Like, I get why this young guy would be attracted to this 80-year-old, as weird as that sounds. But it has one of the most dramatic endings that turns into kind of a laugh. I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but like, there's a moment at the end where like, I literally, like, even though I've seen it before, I went like, because I forgot what happens at the end, and then there's like a fake out, and then you're kind of relieved, and it's a sort of a happy ending, I guess. But if you like, well, Jordan, if you liked, Harold and Maude might be more up your alley if you were just lukewarm on Last Detail. This is a little more romantic and a little more silly. I don't know. Check it out.
I'll watch it. That sounds like something I would like. John, did you watch anything?
Oh yeah. I tuned into the end of Can't Buy Me Love because it's like a movie. They were showing on IFC, but it's like a stop and watch it. You know, like some movies you happen to see scrolling through, and you're like, oh, I gotta stop.
You gotta watch. It's
so
20
good,
minutes.
I gotta watch it. So it holds up. It's similar to another high school movie from the 80s. It's kind of twisted because, I mean, basically, he pays the popular girl to pretend to be his girlfriend so he can become popular. Which is really funny because, like, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, there was like a caste system in junior high and high school. Like, there were segregated groups, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with like traditional roles, jocks, nerds,
right.
goths, whatever, right? Whatever the caste system is at the time. And that's what it is. He's like, he does an experiment to see if he can pay the popular girl all his lawn mower cutting money. And it's Patrick Dempsey. This is like his first movie that he's known from, McDreamy or whatever, from that hospital show. Grey's Anatomy. It's like his first movie. And there's a bunch of 80s teen actors, whatever, in this movie. But towards the end, he gives a speech at the lunch table because one of the jocks is going to beat up his other nerdy friend. And he's like, man, we were all friends. Kenneth here, he carried you 12 blocks to the hospital when you broke your arm. And now you want to break his arm because he's talking to Patricia? You know what I mean? Like, so if you watch that movie, certain parts of it, like, you just stop and watch. And what else did I watch? Oh, there's a new, I guess it's a romantic comedy. It's Dave Franco's new movie with his wife.
Alison Brie.
Alison Brie. It's called Someone I Used to Know, and it's on Amazon Prime. What the movie really is, it's like Dave Franco becoming comfortable with the fact that his wife is a nudist in real life. And the movie, I mean, like, it's like watching a husband and wife filmmaking team do therapy. That's not what the plot of the movie is, but that's what I feel like I'm really watching, like what's going on behind the curtains. But the movie's about like a TV producer whose reality TV show called like Desert Island, like it's one of those like Bachelor type shows, gets canceled, and she goes to her hometown, and her boy that she was in love with like 10 years ago or whatever is getting married to somebody else who's kind of like her. And then they're streaking in the movie, and they interview nudists at the end of the movie. So it kind of wraps around. And the publicity for the movie, she did like an Instagram where she ran naked through a hotel and then freaked out David Franco. That's like the joke. But that's her husband. He's like the little Franco, not the big Franco. He's the other one. Right.
Yeah. So I was actually kind of interested in that. Would you say love it, like it, hate it?
If you haven't seen her naked enough and you need to see her naked again, then watch the movie. But
I've already seen Glow, so I've seen it. So then as a story, as a movie, what would you say?
If they had added a couple more cast members from Community, the show Community, this could have been the Community movie. Because there's one guy's in there.
Danny Pudi.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer. I didn't watch the movie yet.
I had a lot of hopes because I love Glow. And Dave Franco did another movie, I think, that was all right. Can't remember what
he directed another movie with his wife like a year or two ago called The Rental, which was actually
horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to grow as like a director or whatever. Pretty interesting. There you go. That's what I watched.
Never seen Glow, so I got added to the list. I hear it's so
although
good.
The only thing
Glow is like really, really good, man.
The only thing that would suck that I would almost tell you not to watch it is you're gonna fall in love with it and then it doesn't have a conclusion.
No, that's the worst.
The pandemic screwed up its last season.
Where the show ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah.
Oh, it was due to come back, but then the pandemic screwed everything, and their ultimate decision was like just drop it.
In the first season, they're doing wrestling just at events, and then the second season, they try to get wrestling on TV, and then the final season, wrestling at a Las Vegas casino, and then after that, you don't know where they're going to take the show.
Yeah.
Back to television? Is that what
I don't know. Like we'll never know unless they ever pick it up again.
But it's kind of cool. I mean, it's based on the glorious ladies of wrestling, like the female wrestlers. Not specific characters, because I don't think they have the rights to the characters that were in real wrestling. But
I don't know.
They make up some characters and they do like the bits and the gimmicks and the promos, and it's kind of cool. And there's drama behind the scenes, obviously, like relationship dramas and stuff like that. And Mark Maron, it's probably like one of the best characters he's done because he plays like a sleazy 70s horror director who's now in charge of like producing the wrestling show. But then like he and Alison Brie has a will they won't they kind of thing going on. Next week, what's the movie? Let's see. Perfect Blue 1997 anime just in time because Dave is dying for another anime to watch. It's about a pop singer that gives up her career to become an actress, but she slowly goes insane and feels like she's being stalked by an obsessed fan and a ghost from her past. This is a notorious anime, has quite a reputation, and it's supposed to be really good. It's psychological drama because we're moving into the real March Madness, which is movies about mental illness, crazy movies that have crazy elements. Could be the characters, could be the setup, could be the plot. You're gonna need a lot of pina coladas to get through March. You're gonna need keep a box of tissues close, and have that safe movie. Like have a movie that you watch that can make you get through all your emotions of the movies you just watched. Like, what's a good safety movie? Dave, what's a good feel-good movie to watch out all the crazy stuff we're about to watch?
Shawshank Redemption.
Dude, no! Like,
what are you talking about? That's an uplifting
even
movie.
More depressing. You're like this
what
prison
are you talking
drama.
about? That is like noted as one of the most uplifting
it's
feel-good movies of all time.
When we face all the craziness. No.
All right,
anyway,
John mentioned Princess Bride earlier. Why not throw on Princess Bride?
I'm not going to play the outro song because I guess this is just a raw episode, Jordan.
Well, I feel like Dave has to have a list of chaser movies because he always brings up like a second, like if he doesn't like a movie, he always has one after. So
yeah,
I like it.
Don't watch Perfect Blue, the live action adaptation. That's horrible. Got to find the anime.
It's on Shudder. I know that. For those who have Shudder.
Folks, thanks for sticking in your romantic problems with us. Hopefully we answered your questions and told you some good stories. As Dave would say, stimulating stories, right, David?
Sure. Yeah, stimulating. Super stories. Scintillating.
Super stories.
I'm trying to think of as many S words we can say to stories. Sinful.
Anyway, come back next week. We'll spoil some more movies with you. And I don't know. Maybe Jordan will escape from the room she's trapped in. I don't know.
We'll see. I got the multi-tool, so stay tuned. I might still be here.